Hi everyone, I'm Carrie, and for those that don't know, this is my channel, Carrie Unplugged, and I do a wide variety of things, but right now we're just doing a little bit of talking. So we're going to keep this video short, but today I wanted to talk to you about and maybe go in a little bit more depth of things that I've talked to about in other videos, the struggles that I've had when we were back in COVID. We all remember that time, being stuck inside of our house for weeks on end, not knowing where the future was going to go. But I had a different experience with COVID than a lot of other people did. And I want to touch a little bit about that. Back when we were in COVID, I had my older daughter and I had my son with me. But what did happen was that during that time of COVID, and we were stuck inside of isolation, my son, who's now 17, during COVID, he was a wee little guy. He became really, really sick, and we didn't know what was going on. I continued to go to our town hospital. They kept telling me, oh, it's just the flu, and give him these medications. Well, it's COVID, so it's hard to get into pharmacies and stuff to get these things. So I brought him home, and days would go, he just progressively got worse. He wasn't eating, he couldn't even drink water, and everything that this poor kid was trying to put down into a system was coming right back up in hot, fiery vial. And his esophagus was always burning. We'd try to put more water into him, and nothing was helping. So again, we rushed to the hospital, and they tried to tell me, oh, it's COVID. And I said, but he doesn't have any signs of COVID. None of the things that he is exhibiting shows COVID. So why are you saying it's COVID? So they tested him, and they said, oh, it's not showing that he has COVID, but we're pretty sure that it's COVID. So isolate him for 2 weeks. And if it doesn't get better, come back. Well, in those 2 weeks, my son couldn't even be in any kind of light. The room had to be pitch black because it was hurting his eyes so badly. Now he's gone now for about 4 weeks of not keeping food down, not keeping any liquids down, not any medicine down. And I'm starting to panic. And everybody around me is starting to panic in this house because they're seeing this poor little teeny tiny frail kid literally just laying on the floor in pitch blackness, not doing anything. He can't read a book, he can't do any work, he can't, the schoolwork online, he couldn't even sit at the laptop to look at the screen. He couldn't keep food or liquids down. And I'm thinking, what's going on? This isn't COVID. It's not the flu. I'm giving him meals. What is going on with this kid? And my heart is just breaking at this time. And I've got everybody in my house yelling at me, calling me a bad mom because I'm not doing anything. And I'm almost in tears every single day watching my kid struggle. And I don't know what's going on. So I took him back to that same hospital, and I'm telling them he can't see. Like, I put a blindfold on him and sunglasses on top of that to take him into the hospital. I get in there and I'm telling them he's not eating, he's not drinking, he can't even tolerate the light. He's not moving off this fake bed that I've made beside my bed for him so that I can watch him 24/7. What is going on? So the nurse tells me that I need to go and wait in the lobby while they examine him. My kid's around 10 years old, and you're telling me to wait in the lobby? What? Are you insane? Why? And I'm asking them, why do I have to be in the lobby? Why can I not be with my kid? And they're telling, well, we have to examine him closely. And it's just more comfortable if you wait out there. So I sit down and I wait. And about 10 minutes later, two police officers come into the emergency door where I'm sitting. They go up to the nurse at the desk, they start talking to her, and I can kind of hear my name and my son's name being talked about a few times. And I'm sitting there and I'm panicking. What's going on? Why are they talking about us? And the officers come over and they say, ma'am, we need to speak with you. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. So the officers pull me aside away from everybody else and they start talking about the diagnosis and how many times I've been into the hospital with the same one child. I'm looking at them and I'm very confused and I'm very baffled because to me, I'm just the mom that's been trying to get help for my kid. What did I do wrong here? So they take me out of the hospital, luckily not in handcuffs, but they took me out of the hospital, put me in the cruiser, leaving my child in the hospital alone. And they questioned me. Basically, I was classed as an unfit mom. And you'd think that this would stop now? No. So I go home with a bunch of medication, and they're just saying that he ate something and upset his stomach. Now he's on Gravol. I was shocked and I was beside myself. All I could think was, something's got to stop. I don't want to lose my kid. I get home and I'm trying to give him the gravel. I'm trying to make him as comfortable as possible. I'm making him broth soup, anything that I could get to stay down in his stomach. And it's just not working. So in the meantime, I get a call from my mom saying that my dad's not doing so well in the nursing home. He's in a lot of pain, and the nurses are taking him in and out of the hospital in the next town over to get checked out. So now I've got a sick son that I have no idea what's going on with him. And now I got a dad that's extremely ill in a nursing home in the next town over. So I'm trying to split my time between taking care of my son and going up and talking to my dad through a glass window on the outside of the nursing home so that he knows he's not alone. And every day I'm juggling these two. And this went through COVID into months after. So after many visits to the hospital in the town that I'm in and not getting anywhere, my son woke up one morning and he could not see. Everything was blurry and he said his eyes were burning. I just said, that's it. I'm going to the hospital. I'm getting answers. So back to that little hospital, they called him in and made me sit out in the waiting room. They went to do an eye exam and he just couldn't look into the screen. So they called me into the room and said, you need to get your kid to listen to us. I need to do this? Isn't this your job? So I told my son, I said, you need to stay really, really still. I said, I know it hurts, but the only way we can find out what's going on is if you listen to the nurse. And he's like, Mom, I can't. That bright light is too strong on my eyes. The nurse got up. She's like, if you can't freaking control your kid, then I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to refer him to CHIO. Maybe they can handle your kid better. I was such in shock. I don't even think I said anything. I think my jaw hit the ground and I was sitting there. I was just so stumped on what to say, what to do. She left the room and I called my mom and I said, Mom, this is what's going on down here at our hospital. And she's like, Carrie, get on the phone and call Alex. This is his number. Call him directly. I said, okay. So I stopped what I was doing. I got off the phone with my mom. And thank heavens, we have a very close friend of ours that used to be the CEO of CHIO Hospital in Ottawa. And I called him up and I said, Alex, I said, this is Carrie. And I said, I have an emergency. I really, really need your help. I said, my son's here. The nurse is being really rude to me. I've been in here so many times. I said, I don't know what's going on with Connor. He's really, really sick and I'm worried. Long story short, I spent about a week sleeping on the floor of CHIO. But after my son arrived at CHIO and got checked in, his father found out we were at CHIO and Connor was sick. And I thought, okay, I have somebody in my corner. I have somebody to lean on. I have some support here. He came and he thinks it's joking around, but he literally was making fun of my son, telling him, why did you get sick? And what did you do? Did you cause this? You need to fix this. And my son's laying there and he barely can talk. He barely can move. He's puking constantly. He barely can see. And his father is sitting there making fun of him in front of the nurses and the doctors. Anyhow, he got escorted out of the building. He wasn't wanted there. He wasn't helping my son. He was making the situation worse. So after all that, my mom calls me and tells me that my father has been rushed to the general hospital. So I now have my son in CHIO and my father in the general hospital, which are attached. And we're at that stage where you can only have one family member in the hospital at a time for you. Again, my time is split between caring for my son and being there for him to running out of one hospital around a huge parking lot and into another hospital to check on my dad, to find out that my son's got tuberculosis. I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry, which is affecting his kidneys and his eyesight. And on the other hand, I've got my dad in the general hospital with a double kidney stone infection that has apparently been going on for years because of neglect from a doctor from the town I'm in. It was a PSW at my dad's nursing home that figured out that my dad wasn't just old age and losing his mind, that he didn't realize that he had an infection. It was that my dad actually had an infection. So I applaud that PSW. But anyhow, my dad has stage 3 dementia at this time, laying in a hospital room, and he went in for his first surgery and came out. But when they went to do the second surgery to remove the rest of the kidney stones, my dad didn't wake up. He drifted off. He never woke up from the surgery, and over 2 days he had passed away. When my son was in CHIO, he was just getting released from the hospital when I had to bolt out of that hospital to go back to the general to watch my dad pass. So as my son is getting better enough to come home, I lost my dad and I did not have any support. There was nobody there because it was just me. And I had to deal with both my son being ill and my dad passing all by myself. And I'm tearing up now, but this is the first time I've even teared up over this entire situation. It wasn't easy and it wasn't fun to go through by yourself. And even when I got my son home, I didn't have that emotional support. I had to support my kids, and I had to listen to people ridicule me for the way I took care of my son and how bad of a mom I was for letting him get sick. It took 3 years before I found out information that the disease my son has affects men over 80, and there is only a very few cases of children having this disease. It wasn't anything I did wrong. It wasn't anything anybody else did wrong. And it's been a real fight. My son is now at the point where he can live a normal life and he doesn't need as much medication. He's on a good routine and he's getting better. But it would have been nice for those people who sat there and bashed me for years to actually have my back and help me. As a single mom, I moved to my town to be closer to family so that family could help me, but nobody was there. And now, fast forwarding in the future, I spent all my life fighting to be equal in my family, for my family to help me. But I spent years doing things alone. So hopefully, this message comes across that you understand that just because somebody does something differently, it doesn't mean that they're in the wrong. Check your facts first. Be there, support them, give a helping hand. You don't know how much just a little bit of a smile, a little bit of a help can not only help emotionally, and it helps physically. Don't just assume that because somebody's doing something differently or they're going through a hard time makes them a bad person. We've all had a hard time sometime in life. Everybody's gone down a rocky road. Everybody's had somebody that's passed or is passing. Be that kind person. Stand up and help them. It doesn't take much, but it goes a long, long way. So remember, kindness goes far. That's all I have to say for today. This is Carrie Unplugged. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.